Welcome to GAEL Unscripted, where leadership meets learning and real conversations drive real impact. I'm Ben Wiggins, Executive Director of GAEL. Join us as we go beyond the headlines with Georgia's top education leaders. Let's elevate the conversation. Hello, GAEL members, and welcome back to another exciting episode of GAEL Unscripted. We've got some fantastic guests with us today. We've got Erin from Trek AI, and we've got Brent from GET. And why don't we take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves to any of our members that may not know you?
Awesome. Well, I'm Erin Burchik. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Trek AI. I've been with the company since it started in 2023. We launched in Atlanta, and we're an AI platform for schools and districts. We have all of the great teacher tools that you may have seen before, plus some extras like grading and things like that. And then we also are different in that we offer on-demand student tutoring through our AI platform as well. So we have loved getting to partner with GET and Brent as well.
All right. Brent.
And I'm Brent Coleman. I'm the old guy in the group. I got into this business 21 years ago. I went solo, if you will, and started GET in 2019. I was with Syntegics, and have been involved with Syntegics since the very beginning. And as Syntegics began to grow so much, I said, hey, I'll be the sales partner in Georgia. So it's been a tremendous ride. As most members know, or most school districts have Syntegics, we're in 91% of the public schools. But as the years have moved forward, I partner with Cloud 12 for Bell's Paging Intercom, classroom cameras, classroom audio, Ecovasive for weapons detection, and vape detection. And it's quite often that companies will approach me about, hey, do you want to partner with XYZ? So the first thing I want to do is listen when school districts start calling me, hey, what do you know about AI, or what do you know about whatever it is? That gets my attention because it's certainly something they're struggling with. And that's what happened with Trek. To be honest, I wasn't looking to partner with an AI curriculum product, but once they approached me and I learned more about the company, I said, hey, this is the best of what I've seen. And so when that happens, we'll vet it. And what I quickly learned is seems to be quite a bit out there for teachers, teacher tools. And then there's things for students, but typically students are just freewheeling out there. But I haven't seen something where it provides a platform for teachers to provide them with what they need to make their life easier, which is we want to make their life easier as teachers in 2026. And then for the student, it's not just giving the answer. And so that's what, to me, the first thing I noticed with Trek AI. And our motto with GET is smarter and safer schools. And it sounds like a cliche, but when we partner with someone, we want to ensure when you implement it, you will become smarter, provide smarter and safer schools. And so we began the partnership really summer GAEL. And since that time, we're growing like crazy in Georgia. Trek AI has implementations on 6 continents. The only one they don't have is Antarctica.
What are you waiting on?
I know, right? We're going for it still.
We expect to hear the news of the Antarctica expansion by winter GAEL.
That's on our list.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more about AI. I know it's become at the forefront of the principals, superintendents, board members. I know Georgia School Boards Association has been working with boards on how to make sure they've got the right policies and the correct policies. Teachers and leaders in schools, or some of them are very, very worried and anxious about what AI does. Some are very excited about it and very comfortable. It's here, and I think that's the charge we have as public educators, to figure out how to harness this for the good when it comes to learning and working in classrooms and in schools. So I can't wait to get into that more. So why don't we start with that? What is the reality of AI use in students today? What are students using AI for right now as we speak?
When we started vetting AI solutions, as I was referencing a while ago, what I quickly learned is a lot of what is out there provides wrong answers for students. Now, cheating has been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that.
But I think we all realize the negative of AI is it can make it really easy for students to teach. 90% of teenagers in America are using some form of AI to help them with schoolwork. Erin can dive into the details of why it's so much better for the student. But one of my things that I realized in my early vetting is hallucination rate. And Ben, do you know what hallucination rate means?
No idea. I know what a hallucination is.
That's when AI is just making up the answer based on what it thinks it knows. And it's amazing if you look it up how often that happens. And completely ironically, I was just catching up on the news this morning and I saw a link. And it was talking about Grok, and Grok is bragging how they have the lowest hallucination rate of the major models. And when Grok hallucinates, it's wrong 22% of the time.
Wow.
And it's
the lowest.
Yeah, and it's like we're the champion.
Wow.
So when it hallucinates, it's a C student. And I want to turn it over to Erin to talk about TREC's 2% hallucination rate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because we have already loaded in the answers that students are, most likely to ask as they're turning to it for homework help or for that on-demand study buddy, we've been able to bring that hallucination rate that with all the other models is up to, in the 20s of percentages down to just 2% of the time. Wow. Because when they're asking about chemistry or when they're asking about trigonometry, we've already put that content in there in our K-12 database. And so we also use that Socratic approach where we're not just going to give the kids the answer, though. So even though we have the right answer, we're going to make them still go through the process where they're learning, and we'll walk them through step by step, guiding them towards that correct answer. But we are not just an answer machine in the same way that other AI platforms are. So when we talk to districts, they're recognizing every day how much students are using AI outside of the classroom to cut corners, to cheat, because they're not being given an option that kind of provides those guardrails and those boundaries to keep them on the right track to prevent them from cheating.
Oh, wow. Did you call it a study buddy? What did you call that?
Yes.
Online? Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So what we see in our platform often is when students get home from school, they'll pull up TREC and they'll kind of just use it as their companion as they're studying or doing their homework. And so they can jump between subjects. World languages, we have over 100 world languages already loaded in. Every subject that is taught within Georgia districts, we've got there for them. And so as they're studying or doing homework, they can just ask questions. And again, it's not going to do work for them. It won't write papers for them like other platforms will, but it will step into that coach mode and that Socratic tutor mode where it will ask questions. It will ask, what are their current associations, and then try to build upon those to create like real moments of learning, rather than just being like, okay, what's the definitions? Great, I got them from ChatGPT or other platforms out there.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And so it's got Georgia standards that are already in the TREC AI.
Yes.
So schools that are listening to this and thinking about purchasing this for their students, they don't have to worry about the standards aren't connected and aligned to Georgia. So with the foreign language, you just really piqued my interest there. So,
do you know all 100 foreign languages?
No. I was good. How many foreign languages do you have access to?
Yeah, over 100. And so what's been awesome is, number one, for our world language classes, those teachers love this because there's some specialized activities that teachers can create within the platform where they can create conversation sessions. And let's say they're working on a particular vocab list that week or a different verb tense. They can upload that into TREC and then assign that as a conversation session to their students. So when their students log in and they start chatting in this conversation session, it's going to prioritize that vocab list or prioritize that verb tense that they're working on, so that it's the most relevant content that they're using to prepare for the upcoming assessment or whatever it is.
Wow.
But then also for English language learners, TREC will kind of shift seamlessly back and forth between English and the language that they learn in best. So let's say that they're getting beyond their level of reading comprehension. They can shift into, the language maybe that they speak at home, so that they can get a deeper grasp of understanding of whatever topic they're covering. And then they can shift right back into English, and it'll just kind of follow them back and forth.
Wow. I'm just thinking of all the when I took foreign language as a student, you go home and you don't have the teacher there anymore. The benefits this would be, thinking about so many of our students, especially in small rural communities, that maybe take foreign language through Georgia Virtual School. So they never really have a teacher on site, but this would be a platform that they could get some tutoring and help.
Absolutely.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and we even have a text-to-speech option that's incredible. So if they need to understand that pronunciation, they can just click play and they hear it pronounced as a native speaker.
Really? Can they speak into it and it give them you're on the right track, or
Yes.
you need more enunciation?
Yes.
We're coming out with the Southern version.
Wow, that is awesome. This is fantastic. I was a terrible math student, so I'm just thinking of all the benefits I could have had. I may somewhat understand the math concept while I'm in the classroom live when I've got the teacher, where I can still get her to come over and show me. But then I would go home, and neither of my parents could help me with math. I couldn't help my children when they were in middle and high school with their math. So I see so many benefits of this as you're describing.
Well, so
this.
I'm the same way. My oldest daughter is in trigonometry right now. There's no way I could ever do that. But she can take a picture with her cell phone of the homework that she's working on, just upload it right there, and then it can start to walk her through step by step. Again, not doing any of the work for her, not giving answers, but saying like, okay, step 1 here, we need to, create fractions or whatever it is, and it'll just kind of walk her through.
Wow. I'm sitting here as an old principal thinking about some of my students that used to get in a little trouble, and they have to go to ISS because we've got to remove them from the student body for a day, 2 or 3. And sometimes, the work we're able to give them is not very good. And I'm just thinking of what this could provide a possibility for. So now that ISS instructor that's got 20 different students taking 85 different courses certainly can't be an expert in all of those, but this could be a tool that could be used to get some valuable instructional time leading up to the state assessment. That's fantastic. All right. What are the biggest struggles schools are facing as they navigate this rapid rise of AI?
Well, the number one thing that we're hearing from district leaders, school leaders, is that they are recognizing just how much students are using non-approved AI outside of the classroom. And so, we just spoke to a district the other day where they had a district-wide science fair, and the winner, they found out, had a completely AI-generated project that they turned in. And so from that, large of a AI generation down to, just daily essays or whatever it is, they're recognizing so much how students are using it to cut corners and to cheat. There's a huge range too in AI adoption of teachers right now. So you've got some teachers who are so excited, they want to jump in, figure out how do I maximize this in the classroom. And then you've got some that are kind of like, okay, I just wish I could stick my head in the sand and wish this whole thing away. I wish my students didn't have access to this. And then of course there's the bigger issues of selecting an AI platform that is best for your school and your district.
Awesome. So, and I'm hearing of more and more schools and districts that are hiring people in their technology department just to focus on the AI portion. It's becoming that big.
It is.
And it's constantly evolving and changing. How do you think schools should be preparing students to live, work, and lead in this new AI-driven world?
Well, a lot of times we use an analogy of, teaching a kid to drive. And so, have you ever taught one of your kids how to drive?
Unfortunately, I taught both of them to drive, and I did much better with the second one than the first one. Yes.
I have one daughter who I've taught how to drive. My second is about to get her learner's permit in a month here. So
congratulations.
Yes.
Nothing like sitting in that passenger seat.
I can't wait. But for my oldest, the second she got that learner's permit, the first place we went was a parking lot. Then we kind of built our way up to back roads, neighborhood streets, and then finally worked our way up to 75, 85, 285. We didn't just throw her on the interstate right away. we feel the need for students to have almost a learner's permit of AI, because in some ways it feels like academically they're being forced on to the interstate of ChatGPT and other platforms without being given that safe place to learn how to navigate this new world first. So they need boundaries, they need guardrails, they need visibility into the ways that they're using it. They need accountability, so that, you know, when they go outside of the AI policy of their school or district, they're able to be coached back in line in using it in a way that is not compromising their academic integrity. And they also need to be taught what AI is and what AI is not, so that they go into this with, you know, eyes wide open of what they're interacting with and how it works and how it functions. You know, right now, 1 in 5 students, they just came out with a study that says they either are or they know of somebody who is saying they have some kind of a, you know, romantic connection to AI. And it's like, these students need to be educated that this is just a machine that is speaking back to them, you know? And so that's one of the things that we really hope to do, is provide that safe place where it can't take on the life of a character, where it's not going to do the work for them. But then also, all of our students' chats are logged so that, you know, their teachers and administrators can see them. And so they're able to intervene earlier when they haven't submitted work that's AI generated, but they can say, hey, it looks like you were trying to get it to do work for you. Again, this is outside of our policy. Let's have an earlier intervention rather than the huge consequences of submitting something, you know, that's plagiarized.
That's fantastic. What is the real impact AI can have on learning outcomes when it's implemented well?
Well, I think we've done a good job of tracking that, and we're seeing that it's usually 15 to 20% growth of increasing the grade. So we take those C students and make them B students. The B students are now A students. Ben, I don't know if you're probably A plus
good
student.
Solid C plus most days.
So when measured, it's always been positive.
That's good.
And really, like, from a bigger picture too, what the potential is, just in keeping with the driving analogy here, we see this personalization of education kind of being the difference between that, like, MapQuest versus Waze moment, where, you know, if you remember the MapQuest days before, you know, where you'd print out the directions and it was kind of like, all right, these are my fixed directions. I'm going to follow step by step here. And it didn't matter if you came across a wreck, you know, on 316 to get to here, you were just kind of stuck in traffic. Whereas with Waze, it can reroute you. It recognizes earlier on, oh, there's a barrier here, let's get around it. Or, oh, there's an issue that we can avoid by taking an alternate route. We see that as the potential for AI in education to personalize instruction in a way where we're able to set students up for more success, and we're able to identify, okay, what are the potential hazards for them? Where are they specifically going to encounter some blocks, and let's navigate around those, playing into their strengths and their interests. And so we really see this as a time where we're having a whole transformation from, you know, that fixed static route to being dynamic and being able to engage with each student as the individual that they are.
Great. You mentioned engagement. You know, when it comes to schools, school leaders and district leaders, they want to know, you know, they're always, how is this going to engage our students? How is this going to work with their motivation? And always with student behavior. What have you all seen with Trek AI when it comes to those, and how AI is already shaping student behavior, motivation, and engagement?
Well, one of my favorite parts of my job is that I get to talk to so many amazing educators. And last week I was actually at Effingham County talking to Daniel Rivera, who is just, everybody who knows him loves him.
That's right. They stole him from the first district recess.
So I've got to give him some credit here, because he gave this whole kind of framework to me that I have borrowed several times. So got to give credit where credit's due. But he was talking about, you know, one of the biggest issues that educators are seeing in students right now is that apathy in some students. You're not very interested in the work that they're doing. So if you think of it on a continuum, you got, you know, apathetic students on this side of the continuum, curious students on the opposite side. And it's, how can we use AI to start to draw those students from apathy to engagement? And one of the keys there is that creativity, that AI can kind of help move students in that direction. So like never before, if a student has a unique interest, we could use AI to tailor instruction to them. So if they've got something that they want to just pursue, let's say that they are an all-star math student, but they are not content staying in the scope and sequence that they're currently in. With AI, they could just press the accelerator and, start exploring, APBC calculus without, feeling held back. Or if, let's say they're, an aspiring entrepreneur, they could create a website with vibe coding right now so quickly. They could create product mock-ups so quickly just to kind of get them unstuck. If they're interested in music, they could create a whole album in a weekend. If they are a gamer and they want to create a game, again, they could get on and create their own custom game that they would go out and share. For some of those apathetic students, if they start to engage with AI in the wrong way, it's almost like it accelerates their apathy because they're like, oh, I found a way of disengaging even more. It'll just do the work for me. And then for the curious students who are already curious and interested in all of these things, we're seeing them become even more so because they're like, oh, I can really pursue this specific interest or passion. So I think the challenge is, how do we leverage this to get that engagement? How do we say, we're not going to just try to fit you into this exact route. How can we begin to play to what will get you engaged? What are you willing to talk about? What are you willing to study a little bit more, so that we can start to not see AI drive those students to opposite ends of the spectrum, but begin to bring, those students who maybe are struggling with apathy into more of that curiosity.
Great. Well, there's a lot of fear around AI. So there may be leaders that are listening to this and they're thinking about all of the negative things that they've heard about AI. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you've encountered when talking to and dealing with educators about those misconceptions?
I've heard more of the positives. So.
Yeah. Well, I know some of the maybe fears I've heard from some educators, especially when AI first came out, and you've alluded to some of them, but the kids won't be doing any of the work. They'll get it to do all their homework for them. It'll write the papers, those kind of things. And so I'm sure you hear that as you talk to people, even if they know there are some great benefits to it. So how is that going about? You like Daniel at Effingham County, maybe he could give an example, or a school district that you're already using. They had these worries and these fears. Now that they've implemented it, what were some misconceptions or what made them feel better about it once they went through the trial period or whatever they did? Maybe that's a good way to ask it.
Yes. Well, I was recently at the Capitol, and we were talking a lot about AI policy with a group of educators. And one of the things that a lot of them were worried about was, how is this going to impact my job? Are we talking about AI replacing educators? And anybody who's in education, I think, knows AI is not going to be able to replace a teacher because, it's not just a transactional thing that's happening with it in education. It's transformational, and that requires a teacher who's making that investment in the lives of the students. But I think the potential there is giving teachers time back in their day so that they can move back into that guide and coach mode where, some of them are so bogged down by the administrative tasks that come along with teaching right now, and we're seeing burnout happen, across the board. If we could give time back in teachers' day with some of these AI teacher tools that will hopefully, streamline their workflow and then help them to free up space where, they can be able to invest in their students in a way that maybe they haven't been able to. We've got every kind of teacher tool you can imagine, from lesson planning to grading to slide generation. And with each of those, we're hoping that, that gives 30 minutes, an hour back into the day of that teacher. And also the potential is that AI can really give teachers a pulse on the academic progress of their students like never before. And so what sets our platform...
Quickly.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really the value of having the on-demand tutoring that's a part of our platform, because you get real organic content to work with. So as students are engaging, Trek is scanning all of those students' chats. It's analyzing them, summarizing them, and then giving really profound insights back to teachers, saying things to them like, hey, everybody in your fourth period class is asking this kind of a question. Let's go back and backfill before moving on to the next section. Or, hey, everybody in your second period class looks confused in their chats. Let's go back and figure out what's causing some of this confusion for your students.
That's great. And your first period class seems to all have it, and they're moving forward. They've grasped the concept.
Yep.
Ben, I'll share 2 examples from teachers' direct feedback. One of them was telling me that she's never been comfortable writing DOK level 3 and 4 questions. And a teacher can go on the platform, click on test generator, and do DOK 3, 4, bang, it's there.
Wow.
Now she has that confidence. And I'm actually going to read something else a teacher sent me, because I think this is so specific to Georgia. It says, Trek helps teachers turn Georgia's standards and milestones expectations into classroom-ready practice. Instead of teaching to the test, it helps generate multimodal assignments that ask students to read, analyze, revise, and respond in ways that match the rigor of Georgia.
Wow.
And then also in that same communication, talking about getting ready for the GMAS.
Yeah.
I guess that's what everybody's aiming for in May.
That's right. Got the test coming up after spring break. And so as I'm hearing you talk and tell about Trek AI, I'm thinking about all the benefits that could have, because if you've got a classroom of 22 students, they may need help in multiple different areas of how to solve the math problem, or what standards maybe they've missed along the way that you're trying to shore up. And this allows that teacher to be able to handle appropriately with each of those students in different areas. So I'm glad you mentioned what teachers have shared, because I know that was going to be a question I asked, is what are teachers that are using this? What are they saying? Is there anything you want to add to what Brent just said, or maybe some feedback you're getting from teachers?
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to that time back in their day, I think for some of them, they're just saying, I'm not having to do as much in the evenings after work or putting in the weekend time that maybe they were having to put in before. Yeah. There's a study that just came out that says that teachers who are maximizing AI tools as a part of their workday are saving on average about 6 hours per week. Wow. And so that's a big piece of the feedback that we're getting as well.
Helps them so when they go home, they can be home. They can be fully present for their families or their friends.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
And then the power of Trek, I mean, every teacher that ever taught wants to be right where the student is, right? Yeah. And you kind of end up in the middle, and now you've got an on-demand tutor that can be right where the student is.
Yeah. Even when you talked about the teachers getting those level 3 and 4 DOK, the questions, helping them to understand how to do it themselves.
That's right.
And they may not use the exact question, but it's a great starting point for them to begin to do that. I think that's fantastic. All right, so let's talk about 3 to 5 years in the future. What do you think schools are going to look like? What are these classrooms and that are these schools that are successfully integrating AI? What are those classrooms going to look like for students and teachers in the future?
Going to be education that's personalized on a way that we've never seen before. I think we're going to see students being able to really define, hey, I'm really interested in pursuing this kind of a path, or this college prep path, or this career path, or but specifically with this niche direction in mind. I think we'll start to see earlier intervention when it comes to being able to recognize, learning differences in students and ways that we can intervene and, make accommodations for those students in creative ways. I think it's going to look like teachers being able to step, again, more into that relational guide teacher mode rather than feeling like, okay, I've got so many tasks that I'm just checking through all day, every day. And I think we're going to be able to, the sky's the limit when it comes to the engagement I think that we'll be able to see from students, because hopefully we'll be able to identify, okay, what are you most passionate about? What are your sports you're interested in? If you're really into baseball, well, let's use baseball to teach you
geometry,
algebra,
physics.
whatever it is.
Right.
So being able to pull students into that level of engagement.
Make it relevant.
Yes, and we're just starting this summer. We've got some new products that are launching that we're so excited about that are beginning to move in that direction, that are really personalized, very focused tutors, for specific tests and things where it's going to learn a little bit more and keeping that data really safe and secured right there with the school, but knowing a little bit more about them so that it can feed them up instruction that they're going to be excited about and interested in, and therefore be even more successful.
Well, I know there's going to be a lot of educators that are going to watch this or listen to this podcast, and they're going to want to talk to you. I mean, you're touching on achievement, you're touching on engagement, you're talking about saving teachers time, helping teachers write assessments, helping teachers grade. I think about English teachers and the volumes of grading they have to do on rough drafts of essays and stuff. So let's say you've piqued their interest. What's the next step? The principal, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning, instructional technology, they're listening. I want more information. How do I go about getting it?
Just visit trekai.org. We've got lots of ways that you could either book a demo for you and your team. You could give us a call. We can, talk to you right on the spot. We've got lots of great information there. It's just so easy to onboard. It's unbelievable. That's one of the best things is that we hear from tech directors all the time that they love working with us because we integrate with every major LMS and SIS, so we can get districts stood up in a day.
Wow.
And we've got an amazing partner success team that's there to make sure that the districts are getting the most out of this. And so they're there to provide training and ongoing resources and support. And so, we would love to, we're still onboarding people right now. And we would love to get to partner with every district in Georgia.
All right, so you heard that. Reach out to Erin, reach out to Brent, reach out to us at GAEL if you can't remember, and we'll get you that contact information. And they'll set up a demo for you. They'll come on site if you want them to. But you've heard some of the benefits of this. You've heard the ease of it. AI is here, and I think we're either going to make decisions to ignore it, or we're going to use processes and structures like Trek AI have to use it for good, both for teachers and for students to help propel learning in the future.
And I think that's the reality, Ben. I mean, all schools in Georgia at some point need to be using something AI related for teachers and students. And I said on the front end, I haven't seen anything that does both and working together. One thing I failed to mention on the front end too is Trek is a Georgia-based company, born and raised, and so they know the people, they know the culture, and probably most important, smart people, very genuine. And if you've been at some of the conferences out there in Georgia over the last 6-9 months, you've met Erin, you've met Brittany, Derek, Josh, the whole team, just really, really good people. So would love to learn more about what districts need and share more about Trek, and it's the price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, per student or for a teacher, you can provide this for a teacher.
Wow.
For a price of a cup of coffee. They can have it all year long.
That's fantastic. So I won't, because cups of coffee cost different amounts of money there too. But so is it by FTE? Is it by the license? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have different tiers, and it's based off of per user.
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, GAEL members, you've heard that. This has been a fantastic episode. Thank you for joining us today.
Privileged to be here.
They will be at Summer GAEL, but if I were you, I wouldn't wait till then to reach out to them. I would get some information and find out about Trek AI and what Trek AI can offer your school and your school district to help your students and your teachers. I think that teacher burnout report is still fresh on everyone's mind, and getting time back for teachers is a huge component of climate and culture. Well, thank you both again for attending today. Thank you, GAEL members, for joining us for another episode of GAEL Unscripted.